Welcome to PCMC Pop Culture Man Children. I'm Mike Bongiorno. I'm joined today by Mr. Vin Forte.
Oh my God.
How are you, Vin?
Good.
Vin, you and I are returning to the world of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about Star Trek, the motion picture. I've seen the original. I mean the original theatrical version, but just today I watched the director's cut.
Oh, you watched that new one that they put on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, what did you think of it? Did you watch that?
No, I've only seen the original.
Have you ever seen...
I know what they did. I saw like a documentary.
Because they also did a thing
new
years
matte
ago.
Paintings in the back and like...
Yeah, and just more character beats that like there were like scenes in the original where Kirk would walk out and then it would cut. Like he would walk out and like now you hear like a horror say something. Like it is a better movie.
It is. That's what I hear.
So...
Because this movie is... very atmospheric.
Yes.
Not a lot. Like, I watched it back, and then I was like, am I tripping, or is there, like, not a lot to this movie comparative to the actual runtime of it?
Right. No, there's like 5 beats. Really?
Right. Like, the beat, right, it's all about, like, the experience. Because the actual beats of the movie are... some new asshole Decker is commanding the Enterprise. Yeah. And Shatner comes aboard and like they put him in charge and he doesn't know how to do the new fangled computer bullshit on the console and then like basically almost gets people killed. Right. Then there's a transporter accident, a horrific transporter accident. Then Spock comes aboard because he's been doing this ritual on Vulcan. And then, like, he can't complete it because there's a big cloud in the sky.
And then we're in the cloud.
Then like there's this admittedly really cool effect where they're going in the cloud, right? And like a big lightning thing is shooting through the bridge, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we're meeting V'ger, and the lady, what's her face, is now like Aaliyah is a robot, or like her consciousness is still in the robot, but like the V'ger entity is now inside the robot of her. Right. And then when they finally get to V'ger, who is really a Voyager probe that we sent out like in our time years ago that like collected all this data and is now sentient, I guess. Yeah. Then Decker and Leah get absorbed into the V'ger entity, right, and go away and have a non-corporeal life together.
That's it. That's basically it. You've synopsized it. It could have been an episode. Really.
It really could have if they would have only cut out that 40-minute shot of the Enterprise.
It's 5 minutes. I timed it today, or a little less than 5 minutes, but let's round up. So Star Trek: The Motion Picture comes out in 1979. That's 2 years after Star Wars. And Star Trek was on for 3 seasons. It was popular. Well, it had its fans. But it only lasted 3 seasons. And then it went into syndication. And when it went into syndication, it became even bigger. And more people saw it, and the fan base grew. So there's this weird thing, if you watch the TV series, as I did recently, and then you watch the film, there's this weird jump from this sort of like campy, fun sci-fi show to this like we're taking ourselves very, very serious movie.
Oh, that first movie, especially, they're taking themselves way too seriously.
It's the total embodiment of fake it till you make it. Because when you think about it, a Star Trek movie could have been It could have went a different way entirely. It could have been very silly. It could have been more comedic. It could have been like the Brady Bunch movie. You know what I mean? Like and it's probably I almost said Rod Serling. It's probably Gene Roddenberry who, as little as he has to do with it, he still had something to do with it. Kept trying to push it into that very, very cerebral place.
Yeah. And really, the sad thing about Gene Roddenberry is... Listen, he created Star Trek. He had the vision.
Yeah.
But once you start getting to the 80s,
yeah,
everything great you love about Star Trek, like post 1982, he probably had very little to do with it.
Right, and
everything you hate about Star Trek,
he's pulled out of
post 1982, especially in like the first 2 seasons of Next Generation.
Yeah.
He had everything to do with.
Right, in both the film series and Next Generation TV series. He started with it, and then the production kind of pushed him out.
Because he had these weird ideas. First off, like...
Kind of like what Disney did to George Lucas.
Right, although George Lucas wasn't trying to, like, sex everything up.
No, he wasn't. Sex everything up?
Oh, yeah, like that... Well, you haven't dove headfirst into Next Gen yet. So, that first season especially, it's like... Women gotta wear the skirts.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And the second episode of the series is a take on the Naked Time in the original series, where they come across a plague, and then everyone on the ship sort of gets in. So here's just a great example of Gene Roddenberry going crazy. So in the original series, there's an episode called The Naked Time, where someone gets an infection. And it causes people to like act out, and like their id and their ego like goes crazy.
Right.
And it's supposed to be like a very smart way of learning about these characters.
Right.
Because now it's like, okay, you see them on the surface, and now because of this plague, you get to see a little more of them on the inside.
Yeah.
Great. In Next Gen, they do The Naked Now, which is like a sequel episode to that.
Uh-huh.
But here's the problem. 2 problems. One, it basically treats the disease not as something that brings out your inner identity, but just makes you really horny.
Okay.
And everyone on the it's like a comedy episode, and everyone wants to fuck. That's the infamous episode where like Data fucks. Like everyone fucks in this episode.
Okay.
And the other big problem with that episode is that's the episode that aired after the pilot. So that's the first like adventure after the pilot that they go on.
Okay.
So you don't know these people. And
now they're fucking.
Now they're acting radically different than you would normally see that, but you don't know them. So it's like, why do I care that they're acting fucking like horny weirdos?
Right. It's not a good it's not a being like, look how different they're acting is not good when we don't know them yet.
And Gene Roddenberry was full of that shit. Like, there was an episode of
He was full of bad ideas. I mean, honestly, he was.
But he would slip in sex wherever he could, because, like, there's an episode of Q in the first season where he's like, I'll give you anything you've ever wanted. And, like, he makes, like, Wesley Crusher turn to a man. He gives Riker, like, unlimited power to do what he wants. And then they get to Worf, and he just gives Worf this, like, slave lady who's, like, crawling around on the floor, like, growling like an animal. And it's like... They even have a scene.
Says a lot about Gene Roddenberry.
Says a lot about Gene Roddenberry. But my favorite part of that clip, really quick,
was she also a Klingon?
She's a Klingon.
Okay.
So she jumps on, and then Geordi's on the bridge, and he goes, "Worf, is this what you consider sex?" And it's like, well, Geordi, where is this coming from? What are you like? Fucking weird season.
All right,
Geordi.
let's not kink shame here on the Enterprise.
But back to
the movie. The movie has an interesting production history because it went through 1 million scripts, and
it was going to be a series.
Yeah, it was going to be a series, and thank God it didn't. It wasn't, because it would have been starring Stephen Collins. Is that his name, Stephen Collins?
I think so. The guy who played Decker.
Yeah, who is a well-known pedophile.
Oh wow!
And you probably know him more as the dad from Seventh Heaven.
Oh, okay.
He was also on.
Was he in that cult? Was he one of those?
No, he was. He was also on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia too, until the pedophile thing. His wife him and his wife were having therapy, and his wife recorded the therapy for whatever reason.
Right.
And he admitted to molesting underage girls and exposing himself to underage girls.
Right.
It's his voice saying, I did it. So that leaked, and then his career was over.
Yeah.
So thank God Decker wasn't... It wasn't a show starring Decker, because...
Right, because then you wouldn't be able to watch it anymore.
Right, you'd be like, oh, fuck, this whole series sucks. Like, they got Decker... And then they got Decker...
It would have
basically dies at the end of the movie.
Cosby'd.
Right. Yeah, thank God he dies at the end of the movie, because, you know, he's not too much in this, so you can kind of be like, all right, well, it's not about him. Yeah, Stephen Collins, Decker. Yeah. Yeah, like there was one script where they look for God, which they ended up doing in some fashion later on.
Yeah.
There was a script that supposedly had a scene where Kirk fought Jesus.
That wouldn't have been good.
No, that would not have been good. There's some famous story where like they had a script that they liked, and Gene was like, "Oh, let me put a polish on it," and then I think the head of Paramount was like, "You don't make something better by taking a piss on it."
Yeah.
Basically, he fought them the whole way. They wanted it. He wanted it one way, and they wanted it to be good.
Yeah, and it really is telling that the two best original cast Star Trek movies are 2 and 6.
Yeah.
The ones that he had the absolute least amount to do with.
Right. Yeah. So...
But this movie's also, like, almost disconnected from the other movies. It's sort of like in its own little world. From, like, the set design to the dress.
Right.
Like, the uniforms
everything's redone different. After this.
Everything's redone. They have the red uniforms after this.
Yeah.
This is the only time where you see them in these, like, very
pastel.
70s.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very Logan's Run.
It is very Logan's Run, like very pastel, like earth tone.
I like it though.
It's got its own charm, but like it's not what it would become.
Yeah, you and I did an episode of underrated science fiction movies, and this was on my list because I think it's underrated because even for Star Trek fans, this movie is really maligned. People think of it as like the bad one. Like, oh, you know, I've heard people say like, oh, don't watch 1, just start with 2. Like, don't even watch 1. I think it's good. I mean, I do think that it's not fun.
Right.
It lacks, you know, the soup of Star Trek has a lot in it. And one of the elements is fun. You know, in the original series, there was fun. Along with...
not a lot of fun in this.
Right. No, there's no fun in it. They
starts with a horrific transporter accident that merges 2 people together.
Yeah. And in the director's cut, they make it even worse by adding, like, crazy screaming.
I've seen that clip.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I wonder if that's, like, the fans always wanted to see if that could happen, so they put it in. Because all it really does for the story is it makes the science officer die, which allows a spot for Spock to come in.
Right.
But it kind of out of nowhere in the movie. Like,
it really
they're just like, oh, there's a problem here in the transporter room. Kirk runs down to the transporter room.
He's like, oh my God.
We see Janice Rand for the first time since season 1 of the original show, and the last time I believe we'll ever see her again, unless she comes back somewhere later. I know she's in fan films. And they're trying to transport somebody, but they don't have a good lock on them, and then like they start merging, and then they're just screaming, and then they lose them, and then Kirk is like, Starfleet, do you have them? And then the over the comm guy goes, what came back didn't live long, thank God. Which is like, oh, what kind of a monster, what kind of Cronenbergian crazy shit came back. And then in a very way where you don't believe him, Kirk's like, don't worry, Rand, it wasn't your fault. It clearly was.
Like, no,
it wasn't her fault, but it's just funny the way he says it makes it feel like it was her fault. Yeah. You know, the older I get, the more Bones is my favorite character.
Okay.
Bones in this movie, can we talk about Bones' entrance? Because it's one of the best entrances of anything ever. So, a couple times in the original series, Bones made references to, like, not liking the transporter. Or, you know, not liking that your molecules get all whatever. So, there's this scene where, like, there's like, somebody's complaining and someone won't transport up, whatever. And, or there's some problem in the transport room. So, Kirk goes back down. there's a bunch of people, and he's like, where's the rest? And then like he wanted us to go up first to see what would happen to us. Because the accident just happened.
Yeah.
And then they beam up Bones, and he looks like he just came from a coke orgy. He's wearing a white suit.
Yeah.
The big V neck with a big gold medallion, a huge beard. He looks like he just was taken off, like he was on a disco floor.
He's on like Starship 54.
Yeah.
Like,
he was just like, he was doing coke off somebody's ass crack, and then like... And he's just fucking transported up to the Enterprise.
Yeah, like I said, very 70s, like the gold chain and the long V.
And it's like it gives you this little glimpse into what this man's life is like.
He was having a nice life back on Earth.
Right.
Right. Transport him up.
He says I was basically drafted. He goes, they pulled some very archaic rule about being able to bring somebody back in, and it's because Kirk wanted him to come. So I think another reason why this movie is disliked, and I said this on our episode about underrated sci-fi movies, is I think there's a little bit of like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi going on, because Captain Kirk was our handsome hero. And in this movie, he's competitive, he's indecisive, he's shitty, he's kind of mean sometimes, he's disrespectful.
Right.
He's cowardly. Spock is completely trying to not be human, so he's cold to his best friends. Everything you would want from a movie, right,
is not here.
It's like it's like almost like the opposite of what oh, you love your heroes? Hey, do you love your heroes from that TV show? Well, here they are, and guess what? Their friendship's not that great anymore.
Yeah, it feels like there was some other movie that we missed.
Yeah.
And now we're just picking up wherever this movie starts.
You are right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like,
it's like, have these characters not seen each other in 10 years?
I think they're not. I think not, right? Or something like that. What's funny is the movie shows Spock before Kirk, which I wonder if that pissed off Shatner.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, Spock's on Vulcan. You get a beautiful view of Vulcan. And he's supposed to be doing this ceremony where he will completely purge the human part of himself and give in to total logic. But V'ger, the being, right, he senses it calling to him. And is that his mother or just some lady?
I think that's his mother.
She's like, let me mind meld with you. And she's like, some being is calling to you. It's calling to your human part. You're not ready for this. And then it's actually a really cool cut because she's like, whatever you need is not here. And then it cuts to Starfleet and you hear the fucking theme. And you see it's in San Francisco, of course it is. And the Golden Gate Bridge. And then we meet Kirk. What are we saying? He's not friendly.
No.
Let's talk about Jerry Goldsmith's score.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's incredible. It's really good. And it's interesting because it's not in the original series. It's from this movie, and
it's good because they use that as the Next Generation theme.
Right. It somehow came late in the brand, but is super associated with the brand.
Right.
Like you and I recently watched part 2, and we'll eventually do an episode on part 2. And I had forgotten that they don't use it in 2. And as much as 2 is an awesome movie, I'm kind of like, where's the Jerry Goldsmith score? And the score is gorgeous. It really is. Without the score, I think the whole thing wouldn't work. Because the score sells what they're trying to do.
Right. You can't do these glory shots of everything without that score.
Right. The score is like, hey, we're taking this serious. It's a little bit... Yes, it's taking itself seriously, but it's also a little bit of a victory lap.
It is. It's like, hey, this thing ended 12 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And we get to make a movie now. Like, this thing lived on. We found our audience.
You liked it, and so here we are.
Right. But that's one of those things where, like, we could watch it a million times. I would love to go back in time and watch it as someone in, like, the late 70s who had loved Star Trek.
Right.
And, like, what would I think of the movie? That, like, would I be one of the people that would be like, oh, this is a disappointment because it's nowhere near what I thought it was going to be.
Right. I mean, it is. If you're...
Because now it's easy to look back on it and be like, yeah, it's underrated. Because we have so much more Star Trek to compare it to and be like, well... Like, it's very easy to look back on it now and go, this is one style of Star Trek out of a whole universe of Star Trek that we now enjoy.
Right. Right. If all that exists is the original series and then this movie, it's really such a huge turn.
And a lot of people, I think, mistakenly go that, its problem was it took its cue from Star Wars. No, it should have taken its cue from Star Wars.
No, not at all. Star Wars is fun.
Right, like it took its cue clearly from 2001.
It got greenlit because of Star Wars.
Right,
but
that's
the production has nothing to do. Nobody was trying to make Star Wars.
Right.
It was just lucky for them that Star Wars happened, and it made all of Hollywood just start greenlighting any science fiction movie you could.
Right, like the Star Trek movie that's trying to be Star Wars is the J.J. Abrams one.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Here's a quick sidebar question.
Sure.
Looking back now that we have the 3 Star Trek J.J. Abrams movies and the 3 mainline new Star Wars movies, which 3 do you prefer as a whole?
It's hard because I'm much more of a Star Wars fan. So I really love... I think The Force Awakens, I've said this before, it's like perfect fast food. It's fun. It did what it needed to do. And I really think The Last Jedi is incredible. I think Last Jedi is one of the best Star Wars movies. But The Rise of Skywalker is so bad. Like, The Rise of Skywalker is worse than any of those Star Trek movies.
Right.
Like, those Star Trek movies are... The third one I didn't like as much...
But if you had to grade them, they're all like a solid 8.
Right, it's not a huge drop.
Right.
It's not a huge drop.
It's like they go from... They range between like a 7.5 and a 9.
Yeah. Somebody did oh gosh, who was it? Was it Just Right? Somebody did a really great video essay on the Star Wars sequels where they called it the anti-trilogy. And at first you're like, well, does that mean it's not trying to be a trilogy? Which, that's a misnomer. It's the anti-trilogy because every film in it is trying to not be something. The Force Awakens is trying to not be the prequels. The Last Jedi is trying to not be The Force Awakens. And The Rise of Skywalker is trying to not be The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So, gosh, that is such a good question. I mean, it's weird because did JJ do all 3 or did he just produce the third Star Trek?
He did the first 2 and then Simon Pegg did the third one. He
directed or he wrote it?
Both. No. He wrote it, and the director was Justin Lin, who did the Fast and the Furious, who successfully rejiggered the Fast and Furious movies.
Okay, so Uncivilized, I believe, is the name of the person who did the anti-trilogy video essay. If you want to call it a trilogy, the JJ Star Treks actually work more together. Whereas for something called a trilogy, the sequel Star Wars movies really don't work as a trilogy. I mean, like, it feels like there's a movie we missed between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Like, because in Rise of Skywalker, all of a sudden we're all buddies, and it's like, what?
Yeah, whereas with the 3, and I know they're probably going to make another one, but with the 3 as is trilogy of Star Trek movies now, it's clearly a beginning. The second one is we're having we're in the middle of our adventures.
Right.
And the third one has that air of like, we've been doing this for a while now. Like, what's the next step?
What's your answer to this question?
My answer is the Star Trek ones. Because I think the first one is great. Like, the first one genuinely blew me away in the theater because I was not excited.
JJ's good at making first ones.
Yeah.
He's a great, like... That's why he was good at TV. He could make you a great pilot and you go off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Into Darkness I thought was good, but there were things about it that I did not like, and the things I didn't like about it was like all the rehash stuff.
See, I think I might like Into Darkness better than the first one.
Oh, better than that one.
Yeah, I think Into Darkness might be my favorite of those 3, but I like them all.
Yeah. And then Beyond I really like because it went a completely different direction. And there was still like the space action you want and the, politics you want, but it also gave you like a good away mission story.
Yeah, it kind of was like, hey, this is, of all the different kinds of episodes, this movie's based on a different kind of episode.
Right, like I appreciate that each of the JJ Star Trek movies is a different type of Star Trek.
Yeah, Justin Lin directed it. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, well, yeah, I could see why the weird thing. Well, the weird thing with Into Darkness is it's really obsessed with Wrath of Khan. It's trying very hard to be like a bookend to Wrath of Khan, which is a weird thing.
Right, and if you sort of take the Wrath of Khan element out of it, or like the heavy-handed parts of it, like it is a good movie. Like I like everything, and then like the ending sort of fumbles a little bit.
Yeah,
where it's like we're gonna do the reverse of the Kirk Spock scene at the end, and we're gonna have like Spock's emotions come out. But even that, I didn't mind in theory because they did set up like, oh, this is an alternate reality, and because Spock's homeworld doesn't exist anymore, like now,
right?
Like, you know, now he wouldn't have had the ability to go back and be as Vulcan as he would have wanted, so his more human side would come. Like, it does make sense. Like, I always give that first Abrams Trek movie a lot of credit for doing something that I don't think a franchise movie had really thought to do up to that point, which was there was at the time all this hullabaloo about, you know, okay, we're recasting these beloved characters.
Yeah.
And they reached out with the olive branch and was like, we're going to give you this alternate world, but we're going to stretch out and have like the real Spock
you're right.
come in and like sort of go visit this world and sort of do the baton toss and explain that like, okay, this is like, we're sort of connecting the alternate universe and the prime universe.
Right.
To the point where Star Trek Picard is all about the aftermath of what happened in that first Star Trek movie.
Right. So it is
with
canon.
The destruction of Romulus.
Yeah. Yeah. So it ends up being significant in the canon of it. Well, it's a fun way to have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly.
To say, okay, we're gonna remake it, but I know you don't want us to touch it, so we'll say everything, all the adventures you love, those happened, but in a different reality.
Right.
This is going on. Yeah. So Decker's supposed to be the captain, and V'ger, it's like this giant shit cloud. It's this giant, like, it's very cool looking. It's this giant like cloud that's in the beginning it destroys this Klingon ship, and it's coming towards Earth, and it's going to be in Earth in 2 days, and the closest ship to it, wouldn't you know, it is the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. So the Enterprise has to intercept and do something, and it's the new Enterprise. It's being remade, or it has been remade. And Kirk has been an admiral, I think.
Yeah, he's an admiral, but now due to circumstances on the ship that we talked about before,
right?
Now he's in command.
Right, and Decker's pissed, and Decker's like, you don't even know, this ship's entirely new. You don't know how this ship fucking works. I mean, and the second they fucking sail out of the dock, they get in a wormhole.
Right.
So he fucks up immediately, and the wormhole's very 70s, but I think it's very cool because they just make the effect of the wormhole by just having like trailing effect on things and doing slow motion. So you're like, ooh, and then there's an object coming at them that will kill them, and so Kirk's like, all right, phasers, and then Decker's like, no phasers, and he says do torpedoes. And they blow it up, and he saves the ship. And then Kirk, again, being a fucking sniveling asshole in this movie, is like, I would like to see you in my chambers. So he goes in, and he's like, explain yourself. And he's like, well, we were in a wormhole because of the warp drive wasn't ready. And the way the new ship works is the phasers divert power through the engine. So if we had used the phasers, it would have made the problem worse. So I saved everybody. And then Kirk is like, stop competing with me, which is so funny because he's not.
Right.
And then Bones is like, you're the one competing with him.
Right. You don't want to be in a big piss baby about everything.
Yeah. And it's like, imagine like it's 1978. You got your I Love Captain Kirk fucking t-shirt on. You're sitting with your popcorn in the front row, and you're like, what's he gonna punch somebody?
When's he gonna punch a Gorn?
When's he gonna put his hands together and like use his forearms to hit somebody on the back? When's This isn't my guy. This isn't our guy.
Where's the fun?
Yeah. But yeah, there's not a lot of story. It is very atmospheric, and it's very, like they get sucked into the cloud, and a lot of it is just like slow images of them, and it is cool looking.
Oh yeah, it's cool. Like it's clearly for the sci-fi nerd.
Yeah.
That would spend free periods in the library and would just rent filmed copies of fucking 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
And just it was like there for the big sci-fi experience of like I'm in the theater and I'm gonna let these big sci-fi images wash over me.
Yeah, you said just now it's not trying to be Star Wars. It is trying to be 2001. It's trying to get the cloud of 2001, and especially when Spock gets in the spacesuit and goes into the space butthole.
Oh, yes.
And he's just seeing all the crazy shit. That's so aping Dave Poole's doing the exact same thing in 2001. I mean, it's the same thing. And Dave Poole, he ends up in that weird place where he's old and young at the same time, and then you see the Star Baby. In this, you see like a giant Aaliyah.
Right.
So it's
it even gets
so much like
it gets weird.
We haven't talked about Aaliyah. Aaliyah is this beautiful woman. She has a shaved head, and she likes to tell people that she's taken a vow of celibacy. Like if any guy talks to her, she's like, "I've taken a vow of celibacy." So don't fucking try it.
Yeah.
But we learned that her and Decker had a past. They were together at one point.
But then she recorded his therapy sessions.
Oh, no. Vin, you're... Yes. She... Again, we don't get to know her that well. She has some, she's an alien of some kind. She has some kind of power because at one point, Chekhov is injured, and I like that Nurse Chapel's in this movie.
Yeah.
She's a doctor. Because she's not back in 2. This is it for her, right? Yeah, Nurse Chapel, who was in the original series...
She's the one that had the crush on Spock.
Yeah, is a doctor. You're right, she's a doctor. She comes in to try to help Chekhov, and then Aaliyah's like, I will help him, and then she fucking uses the Force on him and cures him. But we don't get to know who she really is that long.
No.
Because that cool beam of energy comes into the bridge, and Spock tries to go into the computer, and Spock breaks the computer to stop it, and then it attacks Spock, and then it attacks and absorbs Aaliyah. And then she comes back in a shower. Again, that's probably Gene Roddenberry. Like, let's put her in a shower. She comes back, and now it's not really Aaliyah, it's...
Robot, but the robot has her memories.
Right. A little bit. You have to work to get those memories to come out.
Right.
It's basically V'ger, which is this is when we learn the entity at the heart of the cloud is a being named V'ger. V'ger is sending her as a probe, and she says he's chosen this form because it'll be better for you carbon-based life forms.
Yeah.
And we learn that V'ger wants to reunite itself with its creator, and that's what it's looking for. And the creator comes from Earth, and that's why it's going towards Earth. We learn a lot about, because Decker has a history with her, they're like, you know what, Decker, you go and you talk to her, and maybe you could pull the charms on her, and her real memory must be in there somewhere. Maybe we can, use that. So they go to, the fucking rec room, and they play Pong or whatever the fuck. And, would they give her, a headband that, she had? And then eventually she, but I'm trying to think, what do we get from that?
Not a lot.
She warms up, but does she give us any important information?
Not really, because V'ger's given the important information.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Not a lot happens. Even with the characters. What really happens with... okay, we talked a lot about Kirk at the beginning of the movie, but once the plot gets going, what's really happening?
If there's anything that happens, he does get more Kirky. He starts to making right moves, and he shakes the rust off, and you see Decker start to defer to him.
Yeah.
By the way, Decker I think he's supposed to be the son or nephew of the character Decker from which episode was it? He was he's some crazy guy. He's in Starfleet. He's this crazy guy, an old friend of Kirk's. He steals command at one point.
Okay. That
guy was also Decker, and I think this guy's supposed to be related to him. So yeah, now what happens now? Oh, yeah.
So they get absorbed into V'ger. So Decker and Leah get absorbed into V'ger.
At the very end.
At the very end.
Well, that's another thing that I feel like is not totally set up, because it's like, okay, we do know that Decker, I guess, is in love with Aaliyah, but all we knew about him was he wanted to be a captain of a starship. But at the end, he's like, I want to merge with her. This is what I want, Jim. Because Kirk's like, don't do it. You'll die. And it's like, okay, I guess it's... But I gotta say, it's cool visuals when, like, his hair is, like, blowing crazy and, like, they're, like, merging into one. So Spock steals that spacesuit and goes out on a fucking spacewalk. But when he comes back, he's more human. When he comes back...
Yeah.
So we get back to where we want to be. Because when he gets back, he's, like, laughing and he's like... You're supposed to, and I think this is more clear in the director's cut, you're supposed to realize that Spock realizes from merging with V'ger that to be a being of just logic is to be without hope and light in your life, and that he should embrace his human side.
This movie does, it kind of just hit me, this movie kind of does the same sin that the first of the new Muppet movies did.
Yes.
Which is, we're going to spend 70% of this movie focusing on getting the band back together.
Yeah.
Instead of just having the band already together and ready to play.
Right. By the time everything's in place, we're like ready to wrap things up.
Yeah.
Right. Because, when Spock first comes in, Kirk's like, take a seat. And he won't sit. And he's like, please, sit down. Like, and it's like, what are we watching here? Again, imagine like this kid with this fucking... the Spock Amigo action figure. Like, why is he being mean? Yeah. And they got better roles in the sequels, but like Uhura...
Oh, completely left out to dry.
I know. Uhura, Sulu...
Chekhov.
Scotty's the only one who really gets some stuff to do.
Yeah.
It's really more the main three, although they're not gelling really for most of it. It's not to the end that they're like gelling.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who probably gets it the worst in these movies. Probably Chekhov and Uhura.
In the first movie, it's definitely Uhura. She has almost nothing to do.
Yeah.
In the director's cut, they add a few more scenes of her saying shit.
What's her big moment in these movies? Is it probably like in 5 when she does the fucking fan dance?
Yeah.
Because she was like, I can dance. Like, great, we can use that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Sulu they actually do quite a bit with later on.
Yeah.
He gets his own... In 6, he has his own fucking ship.
Right. Which I think he wanted.
He requested because he didn't want to be near Shatner.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to say the credits of this movie. It's directed by Robert Wise, who did a lot. He did The Haunting. He did The Sound of Music.
Yeah, Robert Wise is a
West Side
really
Story.
Good director.
The story's by Alan Dean Foster, and the screenplay is by Harold Livingston. Alan Dean Foster is a sci-fi writer. He wrote he wrote the first Star Wars novelization. He also wrote the first Star Wars sequel, Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yeah.
But what's really funny about Alan Dean Foster is he's become a shitty old man. And after The Last Jedi came out, he was one of the haters of it.
Oh, really?
And he wrote... No one asked him to do this. He wrote a script for a sequel to The Force Awakens and put it online. And it's so fucking bad. It's like... like... Snoke comes out and he's like, I bet you thought I was dead, but I wasn't. That was a fake me. I'm here. It's just like...
It's like, thanks.
Thanks, Alan Dean Foster. You fucking hack.
Splinter of the Minds.
Yeah, I know. Anyway. So yeah, at one point Spock... they're trying to like talk to V'ger through Aaliyah. And Spock is like, V'ger is a child. You should treat it like a child. So... Kirk gets this idea to like play chicken with it because V'ger has put like satellites all over Earth and is going to destroy all the humans on Earth unless it gets what it wants, which is it wants
something it can't have because it doesn't have a creator.
Right. So Kirk is like, I know I have the information you're looking for, but I'll only give it to you if you remove all the things. And she's like, well, I can't do that. And he's like, all right, everybody off the bridge. And like he just plays chicken with her, which is kind of very much like Kirk.
Yeah.
It's a very Kirk move because it's a big, huge risk. And then eventually she kind of calls him in and she's like, okay, I'll remove the things as long as you give me the information. And they're like, oh, well, that didn't work. So then I forget how we get to this point, but then they're like, okay, I guess they just reached the center of it. And they were like, all right, we're in the center. Let's get out of the ship and go walk to the center with her. So it's Decker, Aaliyah, Bones, Kirk. Is Spock there? Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, they go to the center, and the very center is a NASA probe, the Voyager.
Yeah, big twist.
Right.
Voyager is Voyager.
Right. And it's, as a satellite, it was programmed to
collect data.
But it ended up in a place in the universe where there were like machine people, and it evolved with them, and it became this giant being that's still trying to absorb all the information, but it wants to finish its job by transmitting that information back to its creator.
Right.
And it doesn't realize that the creator is a human. It thinks the humans are an infestation on Earth, and the Earth itself is its creator, or something like that, or the technology of Earth. And Kirk is like, we are the creator. And V'ger's and Aaliyah's like, that cannot be. And that's when
they're like, no, we will create new life. And that's when
right. Yeah, she wants to merge with it. Yeah. She really wants to become part of the creator. Yeah, and then when it's over, Kirk's like, did we just see the birth of a new species? And Bones is like, I haven't delivered a baby in years. And everyone's chummy again. It's Star Trek again.
You know what the scary sort of after the fact twist on that ending is?
The fucking Decker came in. He's like, did somebody say baby? Da-da-da-da-da-da.
No, a lot of fans speculate that that's the creation of the Borg.
So that's very interesting. Well, you know what? There's an episode of the original series that's basically this plot.
Yeah, there is.
Well, there's actually a couple, but there's one that's like very close to it. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's basically this exact plot. It's so funny because it's this cerebral. It's not really a villain. It's like an antagonistic force.
Right.
But
that's the other knock that people have on it. It's like there's no like villain.
Yeah. Whereas in the second one, they go hard into here's your bad guy.
All right. Here's Ricardo Montalban.
He's aged, but don't worry about that. Yeah. What episode was it?
And also, just want to remind Star Trek fans, if you have Pluto TV, they've got now 2 different Star Trek channels.
You don't say.
Yeah. So for free, if you want to just watch something during the day and just pop on a bunch of Star Trek.
Is it the Ultimate Computer? No. It's so hard if you're trying to go by. It's so hard when you're trying to go by titles because the titles
sometimes are very vague.
Yeah, they're also obtuse.
It's like the evil computer. It's like what?
Yeah. So how would you rank Star Trek: The Motion Picture amongst the films?
I would rank it above 5.
Okay.
And
5's the worst?
Okay. I would say 5 is the worst for me. Then Generations is above that. And then above Generations.
You really don't like Generations?
I like Generations, but in the grand scheme of these movies,
yeah.
It's just trying to do too much. And then the whole like I need Captain Kirk to punch Malcolm McDowell off a bridge. It's like what?
Yeah.
And then I would put the first movie above that.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think like maybe I would put it above Search for, but no, because like when those movies start getting going,
yeah, like
2 through 6, with the exception of 5, maybe. Although 5 still has its like campy charms.
Yeah.
Like it's like a run. Like I think it's like its own little thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm very familiar with this one, and I've seen them all, but it's been years. I've seen 2 a lot, and I've seen this a couple times in the last few years. So I don't remember 3, 4, 5. I think I saw actually I do think I saw 6 fairly recently. 6 is good. So it's hard me to rank it, but I would say that it does scratch a certain itch of Star Trek because, like I said, it's a soup, and part of the soup is fun, part of the soup is horny, part of the soup is high-minded. Let's think about life, and this leans into that. You don't want it all to be. It's like it's like a lot of people, myself included, have been saying about Andor, the new Star Wars show. You don't want all Star Wars to be that, but you love that it exists, and this is a color of Star Wars that exists now.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't want all Star Trek to be like this at all. But you know what? Let's give it some credit. A lot of, forgetting the outfits changing, a lot of the visual language of Star Trek that came after begins in this movie.
Absolutely.
The way the engine room looks, you look at the sets and the props of the original series, and it's very TV and
they upgraded.
Yeah, and the visuals lasted still to this day. So yes, they ended up changing the outfits for the maroon ones that people like more, but really, from a design point of view, everything besides like the look of the Enterprise on the outside is all new. So really, it begins the visual language that will continue to be the visual language of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So it deserves some credit in that regard.
Absolutely deserves credit. It's not a bad movie.
You can't have two without one.
No.
It ends with, I think, a cool moment where Decker's dead now. Or actually, they're like, Starfleet wants to know if there are any casualties. And first he says 2, and he's like, no, don't mark them as casualties. Say they're missing. And then he sits in the captain's chair, and we're back where we were in this series. And they go, where do you want to go? And he goes, that away, forward. And then it's fucking Star Trek. And then you have the moment where, with text on the screen, it says the human adventure is just beginning.
Yeah.
Which I love. And then we're back into the score for the fucking credits. And it's like, we had a sci-fi time. It might not have been the funnest time, but we had a sci-fi time, folks. Yeah. We thought about stuff. We thought about life. Come on. There was a lady in a shower.
There's a lady in the
She walks through a
that's
wall at some
sci-fi
point.
for you. You got a lady in the shower.
You don't really see anything. She just, for some reason, appears. They're like, there's someone, there's an intruder on whatever level, and they're like, she's in a shower, but you don't see anything.
You see more of Bones' chest hair than.
Oh my god! And that medallion.
Medallion, like
it's like, what is that? Your gold record? After I left Starfleet, I went into prog rock.
After I joined the Alan Parsons Bar.
What's funny is he also shaves. Like he's like, all right, I'm back on.
Okay, fine.
Unless that's a military. Do you ever see anybody with beards? Riker has a beard, but it's very well kempt.
It is.
It's funny. I've seen. This is a project you and me are doing because you're a big fan of Star Trek and I'm a cash fan. So I recently just watched the original series, and we did an episode on it. Look back on the feed for that. And now we're doing this. We're going to try to go through as much as we can. So there's still a lot for me to see for the first time. I haven't seen a lot of Next Gen, and I've seen I think none of Deep Space Nine, none of Enterprise, I think. Very little of Voyager. But I have seen, I saw the pilot of Next Gen.
Yeah. And
you can see a little of Decker and Riker.
Absolutely.
Like this was the same idea here. Like it's almost like, okay, Picard's the captain, but the young, handsome Kirky guy is going to do the
Kirk work.
Right. And then he grew a beard and gained weight, and they kind of were like, forget that then. All right, well, Vin, thank you so much for being here and talking about Star Trek with me.
Absolutely.
We're the coolest guys there are. We end every episode by saying,
go bye-bye.